Tune in here. I'm going to talk about capital gains, and so Biden, God love him. I'd hate to be the president. It seems like the worst job on the planet. But instead of adding to the national debt to pay for this $2 trillion spending plan, he's come up with this great idea to raise the taxes on the rich. Now, having been a former accountant, I never think that's a great idea. I can tell you more about that if you want to have lunch or have breakfast, and I'll go into my tax theories of the world. But right now, let's focus on capital gains. So what's being proposed is basically eliminating the tax break on long-term capital gains. Now, that was always seen to be as a positive thing for people to save money for a long time, or especially in this case, it affected real estate. So if you held your home for more than 1 year, sold it for a profit, you were taxed at a lower rate. Well, the proposal is on sales, people making over $1 million, but keep in mind, if you sell your home and you make $1 million, you now are making $1 million, you'd be paying the full tax rate of the highest bracket, which could go up to 39% or more. Now in California, that translates to a 57% capital gains tax. That's massive. So if you sold your property and made $1 million, $570,000 would be going to taxes. That's ridiculous in my mind. But again, I'm just voicing here to the Instagram public. Anyways, so that's one element. So sales over $1 million being taxed at a massive rate. Again, if you bought your home 30 years ago, in California, there's a good chance you have over $1 million of equity. Even if you take $500,000 as a reduced capital gains one time, or 2 out of the 5 years you lived in the house as your primary residence, you're still looking at, because in most cases, if you bought 30 years ago, you've probably made more than $1 million, maybe more than 1.5. Pretty big chance of getting a high tax hit there. Now, the other thing there's 3 other elements, talking about getting rid of the stepped up basis. Now, what does that mean? Well, when you pass away or give assets to somebody at your death, the basis gets stepped up. So what I mean, for instance, if you paid $35,000 for your Walk Street home in Hermosa Beach, and today it's worth $3.3 million, you would, at the time of death, your heirs would automatically have a value basis of 3.3 or the current market based on an appraisal or a sale value. If you got rid of that or reduced the amount of stepped up basis, you're talking about a significant tax hit to the person inheriting that property. Now, most people don't have that kind of money sitting around to pay for that. So how do you get around that? Again, this is getting to sophisticated finance, but you get a life insurance policy, different things, just to pay your taxes. So I think it's crazy you have to get insurance for when you die. But it's one thing if you're young like me, but if you're older, you've lived a full life and you have to get life insurance so you can pay for the taxes. Again, to me, that's, I think we call that communism. All right, the other element that I think is really, it would be interesting to see if this goes, is getting rid of 1031 exchanges. Now, for investors, you probably know if you've been buying investment properties, you can exchange out and basically you're prolonging your tax bill. You're saying, hey, I'll pay taxes at the end of the, when I'm done doing the investments, or pass it on, again, leave it to your heirs and then they can deal with it or get the stepped up basis. So they're talking about eliminating the 1031 exchange on property or on sales, on gains over 500,000. So again, buying real estate here at the beach, you bought a little fourplex in Redondo Beach. Let's say you paid $500,000 worth for it. It's worth $2.5 million now. You'd only be able to shelter in exchange 500,000. Otherwise, you're looking at a $1.5 million tax hit, and being taxed on the $1.5 million at 57% in California. Again, you're giving more to the government than you get to keep for yourself. So think about that. Now, one little note is most of these are all still in discussion. These are just proposals, but it's still a scary day to think that we're even having these discussions. And if they even get part of this, it stinks. If they get all of it, it's terrible. So start strategizing now so you don't get caught, as Warren Buffett would say, with your pants down when the tide goes out. So pay attention there. And lastly, there's some other ideas of reducing the kind of transferable or tax-free estate giving. And so right now, I think it's around $12 million per person. Don't quote me on that, talk to your accountant, but they're talking about lowering that to $2.5 million. So if you have a large real estate portfolio or just one house that you bought a long time ago, maybe even have a rental property, kept a couple properties, you're you're talking about only being able to leave $2.5 million of that tax-free without being taxed or having your heirs be taxed on that. Again, this has major ramifications. We're not talking about just taxing the rich. We're talking about taxing people that have been good savers, lived the American dream, bought a house, provided shelter for the family. And by the way, they paid that with after-tax dollars, been paying property taxes on that. So as far as I see it, they've been collecting all along, and now they want to get you when you die. So again, 2 guarantees in life, death and taxes, and apparently they want to get you at the same time even more than they have. So long rant today. If you have any questions about these capital gains, I'm happy to answer what I can. Again, a lot of it's just proposals. Don't go run out and say, Kyle, I need to sell my house. But you should be thinking about this for long-term planning, especially if you're older and you're thinking, hey, I don't know how long I'm going to be around here. Again, I'm happy to help you strategize. You should talk to your accountant. If you have a trust attorney, talk to your trust attorney. These are all important things to be looking at right now and paying attention to the news. Thanks for watching the long rant here. Have a great weekend. If you have any questions, please reach out. And again, thanks for watching. See ya.